This is my final presentation for Exercise Science 481. My client was a 27-year-old male that weighed 180 pounds at the beginning of the semester. He weighed 168 at the end of the semester. I did not seek medical clearance for my client as he did not have any cardiovascular, metabolic, or renal disease, nor did he show any sign of having one of them. He did have exercise-induced asthma, but he said it was well managed and said that he rarely had attacks, but he did keep a rescue inhaler on him whenever we went to exercise. My client's goals was that he was trying to lose 10 pounds by the end of our training, that he would continue exercising on a regular basis after we got done training, and that I can increase his aerobic endurance so he would theoretically not have any more asthma attacks or not have them as often. And I chose to tackle that by doing high intensity aerobic exercises. So here was my client's base assessment scores. Overall, he didn't do great. He had a lot of problems at the beginning compared to the norms where he scored poorly, but he did do really good in the flexibility and range of motion. I chose those assessments because I was trying to get a baseline of his overall fitness level, and I knew that once I got the baseline, I'd be able to better design the programs and what I wanted to target specifically. I could also, using these baseline assessments, see his posture and come up with cues for how to try and fix them as the semester progressed through exercise and teaching proper resting posture techniques. So me and my client generally worked out 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but we generally tried to work out on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, as he had work on Friday nights and Saturday evenings. I would generally just have him warm up by doing jogging, a light 4-minute stretch, and then finishing up with yoga to try and get his whole body active and involved. Our general training sessions lasted around 35-40 minutes and involved 10 exercises minimum that integrated full body movements and high intensity interval training and resistance training. So part of my struggle going into this was not knowing how exercise-induced asthma really worked, and so I researched it, and I found a couple really good articles that went and showed me how to conduct safe and effective physical activity. I even found an article that talked about ways to prevent it and recognize the signs for when an attack might come on. I went and found an article that went and listed exercises that are good to perform for them, aerobic exercises. I used a lot of those exercises in the later workout programs because that's what I was trying to go and get my client to accomplish, was to increase his aerobic endurance. I went and discussed the benefits of regular physical activity with him at the very end of the semester, and that went really well, and I think it made a lasting impression on him to stay active because he kept being surprised by how being active is such an overall benefit to your health and disease prevention. So here was some exercises I went and did with him. I mostly focused on using major muscle groups as those are the most beneficial to working out with. The purpose of these exercises was to increase muscular strength and endurance and to involve all the major muscle groups. So I would modify these exercises or progress them by adding more weight and changing them, his body positioning, or changing the exercise to a more difficult version of it. My client suffered from a muscle imbalance that affected his posture, and it was him having upper cross syndrome. The way I chose to work on fixing it was to add in exercises that focused on his trapezoids, rhomboids, and real deltoids. I implemented all 3 planes of movement by picking and choosing exercises that would utilize different planes of movement and implementing them into the workout program. Implementing agility, mobility, and balance into the programs, I felt like those just came naturally into the program, but I would still have my client perform cutting drills during warm-ups at least once a week while he was jogging. I'd say something as simple as, cut again as you're jogging around the track. He may have looked somewhat foolish doing it, but it helps increase agility. I implemented mobility into my client's program by having him perform exercises that used full body movements, and those also caused him to change positions while still maintaining balance. I implemented balance into my client's program by having him perform movements and exercises that force balance. For example, yoga, single deadlifts, or even planks while lying on the side. Here was the Flipgrid link that I did. It involved me using a progressed walking in place where I went and had a resistance band wrapped around my foot, and I would pull up on the off leg whenever I would be walking in place for added resistance while I worked out. Some risk management strategies that I used was walking him around the gym at the beginning of the semester, just showing him how to properly use all the equipment, where everything went, and how to properly sanitize his station when he was done. Another risk strategy that I used was having him tell me where his rescue inhaler was, so we could just work around that, and if he ever had an attack, I could go grab it real quick. A third risk management strategy was having him be able to identify the exits, bathrooms, and water bottle refill station, just in case he needed to use any of those at any point during the workout. For example, if he had to go and run outside to go and get air for his asthma that wasn't filtered, he knew where to go. Some motivational strategies that I used was positive reinforcement. I personally believe in positive reinforcement as a good strategy to get someone to be motivated, as it makes them feel good and like they're accomplishing something. A second strategy was having me demonstrate the exercise at first, and then asking him if he had any questions about proper form, how can it be changed, and what it looks like if you're just beginning the movement. Because most of the time, people have their own special way of doing a movement. A third strategy was achievement oriented, as if he did good in the gym, like really good one day, I would cook dinner for the two of us, since we are roommates. The biggest challenge I faced this semester was being able to go from the professional relationship to the familiar relationship that we have at our apartment. Becoming a leader. I'll admit I felt a sense of accomplishment at helping him reach all his goals. The class taught me what it was like to lead someone over a 3 month span as they try to reach their goals and being directly responsible for that. So it was a big responsibility to go and try and teach someone who had no clue, this is what you're supposed to do, proper form, here's how you get there.